From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Kayode Okikiolu.
Tonight, the controversy over the same faith ticket of the All Progressives Congress APC takes a new twist. APC flag bearer Bola Tinubu slams former Vice President Atiku Abubakar over his comments on a failed joint ticket in 2007, while Atiku challenges Tinubu to take the hot seat in an interview. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State vows to open up on the happenings in the People's Democratic Party since the emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the party's presidential candidate. Residents of Taraba communities call for help from the government. Claims attacks on their areas have claimed over 200 lives in the past 7 months. And World Health Organization declares the monkeypox outbreak a global health emergency with over 16,000 cases reported from 75 countries.
And on business news tonight, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry expresses concern on proposed ban on mining activities.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria wins the 11th edition of the African Arm Wrestling Championship after finishing top of the medals table.
Men quiet in the camps of the presidential candidate of the main and opposition parties has now given way to the classic political brickbat, with both men openly trading accusations and counter-accusations. Well, it began with the comments by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, in a recent television interview where he spoke about the Muslim ticket of the APC. He had said in the interview on Arise TV that he fell out with Tinubu in 2007 because he did not want a joint ticket with him because Atiku was opposed to the idea of a Muslim ticket on the platform of Action Congress. But in a reaction, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, says the former vice president is pandering to base prejudice at a time Nigeria needs true leadership. In a statement by his media office, the APC presidential candidate describes Atiku's comment as a desperate attempt to win the 2023 presidential election by stoking religious bias. Part of the statement reads, "We are saddened to see such a man become unhinged from the truth. So obsessed is he with his quest for office, Atiku is willing to render any form of untruth if he thinks it might gain him a single vote." He went further to state that Atiku was not one of the founders of the Action Congress, but was only offered the party's flag to fight the then President Obasanjo and the PDP and rescue Nigeria's democracy. It adds that Atiku had been pushed aside, if not out of the PDP by Obasanjo, and was simply a beneficiary of the collective resolve to fight the attack on multi-party democracy by the PDP administration. Tinubu goes further to state what he says is the truth. In his words, "Let me say openly that Atiku offered me the vice presidential ticket in 2007. Let me also say that my religion has not changed. When he offered me the position, I was a Muslim, and I believe he was aware of my religious faith at the time." According to Tinubu, the former vice president's comment had nothing to do with religion or his sensitivity to it. Meanwhile, a support group of the APC presidential candidate is accusing the People's Democratic Party of escalating the debate on the Muslim ticket of the party to distract Nigerians. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the chairman of the Southern Support Groups for Tinubu, Senator Dayo Adeyeye, says the PDP is using that to distract Nigerians from focusing on the issues of zoning and competence.
Against the feelings of the vast majority of Nigerians that power should go to the south, they went and sown the presidency again to the north, concentrating power completely now in the north. The presidential candidate from the north, the chairman of the party from the north. I think that is the issue that will decide the next election. I think this is what is paramount, not the issue of religion, Muslim or Christian. That's not the issue. The issue is that there are people in this country who feel that after 8 years of power in a particular region of the country, that power it should go to another region. And there are people who do not believe in that, who think that a particular region of the country should have a monopoly of power, irrespective of the feelings of the vast majority of Nigerians. MKO Abiola, one of the factors that contributed to his victory was the fact that he was from the south. And people are not ready to even look at the ticket, the fact that it was a Muslim ticket. The paramount issue for most Nigerians was that it was about time, at that point in time, that power should rotate to the south. And the sense of fairness that is shared by all Nigerians share this sense of fairness. Whether you are in Kano or you are Borno, you are Enugu, was what propelled Abiola to victory. Because even the man in Kano was telling himself, why must I put the interest of my brother above that of the national interest? The peace and unity of this country, which one is most paramount to me? Should I vote for Tufa, or should I vote for a ticket that will ensure the unity of Nigeria?
Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, appears energized for the back and forth with the APC vice presidential candidate, and indeed the presidential candidate. In his response to Tinubu's reaction to his interview, the PDP flag bearer challenged his APC counterpart to take the hot seat and do a prolonged interview, just as he has done. A statement by the media advisor to Atiku, the former vice president, is amused by what he calls the knee-jerk response of the Tinubu campaign organization to his interview. The statement adds, "We would like to challenge Bola Tinubu to subject himself to an hour-long interview like the Waziri did, and if he's able to be as articulate and mentally present as our candidate, then he can talk. Until then, we will only want to remind him and his yes men that they are not in a position to point fingers when they have not sat on the hot seat." It goes further to say that Tinubu has not sat down to do any prolonged interview for obvious reasons. The Nigerians have seen him talk in public and can themselves gauge the reason why he is mortified to do so. For more politics, the General Overseer of the Citadel Global Community Church, formerly known as the Latter Rain Assembly, Pastor Tunde Bakari, has denied claims that he endorsed the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu. Pastor Bakari, in a statement, also denied the report that he criticized the Christian Association of Nigeria for speaking up against APC's decision to field a Muslim ticket for the 2023 presidential election and the controversial appearance of clerics at the unveiling of Kashim Shettima as APC's vice presidential candidate. He described the statements credited to him as concocted and ridiculous, accusing those he described as unscrupulous writers and bloggers of being responsible for them. In his words, amongst other things, I was quoted to have said that the agitations by the Christian Association of Nigeria CAN were ploys by the opposition party PDP to force a weak candidate on the APC. But Pastor Bakari also questioned why anyone would say he has endorsed the candidature of Mr. Bola Tinubu, the same person he had refused to step down for during the presidential primaries. Well, leaders of the All Progressives Congress in the Southeast have converged on Owerri, the Imo State capital, Southeast Nigeria, for a meeting with the purpose of charting a new vision for the party in the Southeast ahead of the 2023 general elections. The meeting, which was at the instance of the APC leaders in the region, had in attendance the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, the APC Deputy National Chairman, South, Emma Enuku, the APC National Chairman, Southeast, Ijoma Arodiobu, the APC governorship candidates from the Southeast, APC chairman, and state executives from the Southeast, federal ministers, as well as lawmakers from both state and national assembly. The issues discussed at the meeting include the 2023 elections, the APC's presidential ticket, and insecurity in the Southeast.
It's a gathering of members of the All Progressives Congress, APC,
from the Southeast region, holding in Owerri, the Imo State capital. It's the first of such meeting after the APC presidential primary in June, and it's at the instance of party leaders in the zone. The meeting takes off with the arrival of Governor Hope Uzodinma and some party leaders. First to address the party leaders is the National Vice Chairman, Southeast. He highlights the reason for the meeting.
We have undertaken a lot of mobilization for our members and intending members to get their permanent voters card. And we are mobilizing our people to vote and to vote from the booth level and to give us victory in the coming election.
For the Deputy National Chairman South, the APC has a very good chance to win next year's elections. He adds that the same faith ticket of the party is being blown out of proportion.
If we are thinking of going to church, because you can be talking about Christian, Muslim, when we are talking about church, religion and our spiritual life is a communication, it is personal to God. We cannot use all these sentiments at this point in time. We will look for people who will be able to deliver.
A federal minister present at the event shares his view on what the APC needs to do to gain more traction in the region.
Abia State is a low-hanging fruit for APC. Abians are waiting for APC to take over the leadership in the state.
Like other APC leaders in the Southeast, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, says he is very optimistic about the party's chances in the forthcoming elections. However, he condemns the spate of insecurity and violence in the region.
Working with my colleagues in the Southeast, we will stop at nothing to ensure that peace is restored in the Southeast before elections. We will vote for all our candidates. We will vote for our presidential candidates. We will vote for our senatorial candidates. We will vote for our governorship candidates. We will vote for House of Reps, House of Assembly.
The consensus at this meeting is that all members of the party in the Southeast zone should go back and establish formidable structure at the grassroots and enlighten the people of the gains for the Southeast if Bola Ahmed Tinubu becomes the next president of Nigeria come 2023.
It appears the coming days may witness more brickbats in the political space, as the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike says that he will soon speak on recent happenings in the People's Democratic Party. In a statement by his Special Assistant on Media, Kelvin Ibiri, the governor explains that it has become pertinent for him to speak and reveal to Nigerians all that has transpired in the PDP since the emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as a presidential candidate of the party. Earlier, the governor had also tweeted, "I will speak soon and Nigerians will know the actual truth of all that has transpired in the PDP in recent times." Since losing the contest for the presidential ticket of the party to Atiku and also failing to emerge as his running mate against a reported recommendation by the PDP committee, Governor Wike had remained largely mute about his next move. And that's coming amidst visits to him by leaders of various political parties in an attempt to woo him to their side. Well, let's talk about the elections itself. Indeed, INEC appears resolved not to leave any eligible person out in the voter registration drive and has captured a leper colony in Niger State. The electoral umpire explains that the move is in line with its commitments to promoting inclusion in the nation's electoral process. INEC shared photos of some registration officers on its Twitter handle while capturing some electorate at a leper colony in Chadjaga local government area of the state. In part two, after the break, gunmen kill councillor in Adamawa state, plus residents of Taraba communities call for help from government. Claims attacks on their areas have claimed over 200 lives in the past 7 months. That's in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The controversy over the same-faith ticket of the All Progressives Congress takes a new twist. APC flag bearer Bola Tinubu slams former Vice President Atiku Bakari over his comments on a failed joint ticket in 2007, while Atiku challenges Tinubu to take the hot seat. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State vows to open up on the happenings in the PDP since the emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the party's presidential candidate. Residents of Taraba communities call for help from government. Claims attack on their areas have taken over 200 lives in the past 7 months. And World Health Organization declares the monkeypox outbreak a global health emergency, with over 16,000 cases reported from 75 countries. But with just a little over a week to the end of the continuous voter registration exercise, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC says 8 special centers have been opened for the physically challenged in Lagos State. The head of INEC voter registration and ICT in the state, Muyiwa Yusuf, who revealed this during a press conference at Alausai Keja, also said the exercise is slated for July the 25th and 26th and will be done in collaboration with the Lagos State Office of Disability Affairs.
Lagos residents are taking advantage of the continuous voter registration exercise following the extension by INEC to July 31st. In the Sherry area, some people are out to get registered ahead of the 2023 general elections. Everything seems to be working perfectly. The Independent National Electoral Commission is also concerned about the physically challenged and is ready to put things right to ensure that they are not disenfranchised during the elections. Officials of the electoral umpire engaged the Lagos State Office of Disability Affairs, announcing that 8 special centers are now available for them to get registered.
The type of classification for the PWD is quite distinct in the registration portal. And I want to say categorically that up till Monday, that is some few days ago, the registration in the country, completed registration, we have 10,139,247, out of which 75,422 PWDs were captured.
Meanwhile, the General Manager of LASODA appeals to Lagosians with physical challenges to utilize the 2-day window open to them beginning from Monday.
We have seen a lot of improvements in INEC's procedure. Today, we are happy to see that even at the level of data capture, if you go online now to register, there is a part in it where you can signify if you have a disability and what type of disability you have. That has never been the case. And we are happy that INEC has always heeded to the concerns of persons with disability as we constantly and continuously engage with them.
Over 1 million permanent voter cards are yet to be collected in Lagos, and this is a major concern for INEC.
In Lagos, the total number of registered figures we have is 6,722,394. Out of this figure, we still have over 1 million cards that are yet to be collected. So anybody that actually registered before, tell them to go to the 20 local governments across the states to go and check if their cards are out. If their cards are not out, it's a very simple thing. It's either you apply, reapply, we call it omitted. You understand? If you misplace your card, you don't need to do a fresh registration.
The 8 designated centers are Ikorodu Central Local Government, Badagry Ability and Disability Center, Old Secretariat Ikeja, Onikon Youth Center, Ekpe Sports Recreation Center, Idiaraba Correctional Center, Teslim Balogun Stadium in Surulere, and Okobaba Ebute Meta.
Also security. Tragedy struck in Banga Song, local government area of Adamawa State in the early hours of today when gunmen killed the deputy leader of Song Local Government Legislative Council, Honorable Ishaya Bakari, in his residence. A family source told Channels Television that the gunmen also shot his son, who is currently receiving treatment at a hospital. Meanwhile, the police public relations officer in the state, Suleiman Nguroje, says the security agencies are combing the area to arrest the suspect. He explained that an investigation is ongoing to ascertain the motive of the attackers and other circumstances surrounding the incident, which is suspected to be an assassination. And just in the nick of time, the police in Kaduna State rescued 8 people who were kidnapped by bandits in Chikun local government area of the state. The police operatives who were attached to Buruku Division intercepted a large number of bandits while on patrol between Udawa and Buruku villages along the Kaduna-Birnin-Gwari highway. According to the spokesman of the State Police Command, DSP Muhammad Jalige, the bandits forcefully stopped 3 commercial vehicles and whisked away the occupants and headed into the forest. But on sighting the gang of criminals, the police chased after them amidst exchange of gunfire, and in the process the bandits are said to have fled into the forest, abandoning the 8 kidnapped victims behind. One of the victims, according to the police, sustained injury and was rushed to the hospital for treatment, while the others were moved to Buruku police station, where they were profiled, documented and escorted to their destinations. Well, the police have arrested a man suspected to have murdered an inspector of police, Ife Ishaka, in Benin City, the Edo State capital. According to the Edo State Police Command, the police officer was allegedly killed by her co-tenant, identified as Collins Anthony, following arguments over chores, including sweeping and cleaning of their compound. The victim was said to have reported threats to her life from the suspect to the police before her death.
On the 17th of July 2022, at about 13:30 hours, that is exactly 1:30 p.m. of the day, the Divisional Police Officer in charge of Ohoro Divisional Police Headquarters, Benin City, received a complaint from one Patrick Ishaka that his wife, one Efe George Ishaka, a woman police inspector attached to Benin Metro Area Command, Benin City, called him on phone that the suspect, Collins Anthony, and some group of boys came to the house and attacked her. She was beaten up by Collins Anthony, who appeared at that time as a co-tenant. Immediately, Patrick Ishaka, the complainant, rushed down home, where he met woman police inspector Efe George Ishaka in a state of coma. She was immediately rushed to University of Benin Teaching Hospital, UBTH, where she was confirmed dead by a medical doctor. Her body has been preserved at the UBTH hospital mortuary.
Well, staying with security, and this time in Taraba State, where over 200 persons are reported to have been killed and more than 28,000 displaced following attacks by bandits in over 100 communities across 3 local government areas over the past 7 months. The displaced persons are appealing to both the state and federal governments to come to their aid and tackle the humanitarian crisis.
A falling truck with its driver killed, the contents not spared, burnt and destroyed houses and motorcycles, deserted houses and abandoned farmlands are some of the scenes that greet visitors of communities in Yangtu Special Development Area, Takumanusa local government areas. The residents say it's been non-stop attacks by suspected bandits since the start of the year. This is the first time the media will be gaining access into the communities since the attack started among the Kuteb-speaking tribe, courtesy of armed security operatives. The attack has even spread to the major highway, the Maraba-Takum Expressway, forcing motorists to seek alternative routes as the displaced persons spread to other towns to seek refuge.
The record of the people we gathered so far yesterday, it was 280. But yesterday, this morning, we discovered about 5 people now are now in the bush, that they killed them.
This thing started across the river around this around that side. And after that, after Yangtu, and then after that, we came and discovered these people came to this our environment here and killed a lot of our people.
The impact of this is that the economic and agricultural activities in the affected areas have been brought to a halt, and the community leaders are scared of what will happen next. They want to return to their ancestral homes.
The Nigerian army should wake up, come to our aid, secure our communities so that people can have confidence to return.
The government needs to be up and doing. They need to be very serious and committed to their responsibility.
However, the state government is engaging security agencies to bring about peace as well as supply relief materials to the victims.
The state government is also going to seek for the support of the federal government to see how to address this very serious crisis that has led many to become homeless at the moment.
Although the police in the state would not speak on camera, they confirmed that efforts are in place to ensure normalcy returns to the affected communities.
Also, the fight against terrorism, the military wants all dilapidated roads across the northeast to be fixed to enhance effective operations by the armed forces in tackling insurgency in the region. The theater commander of the Northeast Operation Adinkai, Major General Christopher Musa, says if the roads are fixed, then the bulk of the challenges confronting troops would have been addressed. He made the appeal during the donation of health equipment to the military hospital in Maimalari Barracks, Maiduguri.
This is the distribution of health equipment to the Army Hospital, the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, and the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, by the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC. The theater commander of the Northeast Operation Hadinkai, Major General Christopher Musa, takes the opportunity to plead with the government to address challenges hindering their counterinsurgency operations, and that includes the poor state of some of the roads in the region.
The challenges we're having now in the theater is the effects of IEDs. We started our major operation in February 2022, and within February and March, we had removed over 150 IEDs. And what we feel will assist us in preventing this is road construction. If we have well-made roads, it will be difficult for them to come and implant IEDs on the ground for us to go. We believe that if these roads are properly tarred, constructed, it will take 65% of our challenge.
The intervention by the Commission include hospital equipment, beds, a center for the study of violent extremism, and a check for 48 million naira to conduct research on cancer. The government is promising more interventions in the coming days as normalcy gradually returns to the region.
I'm happy to have heard that there are some catalytic activities that, if done, will not only bring succor, but will prevent future reoccurrence of some of the heinous things that are happening, particularly the improvement of the transit road between here and Damboa. I promise you, even if I do not have the authority of approving it right away, I have the opportunity of making a case for you for that to be approved. And I will lead that vanguard in making sure that it is approved.
The last time the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital got beds was when it was established 40 years ago. And just like other beneficiaries, this gesture will come as a relief for them.
It's a natural disaster. 6 people have been confirmed dead and 65 others injured after a windstorm swept through Kefin House, a local government area of Jigawa State. Our correspondent Sadiq Eliasu visited some of the affected communities found in this report.
Jigawa State experiences a perennial flooding, but this year, the season begins with a windstorm that causes havoc in Kafin Hausa local government area of the state. 6 people lost their lives, while 65 others were injured in the incident. This is a weekly market in Kafin Hausa local government area of Jigawa State. In this market, about 3 people have been confirmed dead as a result of windstorm, and an unspecified number of tents have also been destroyed. Officials say about 1,300 houses have also been destroyed in the local government. Ismail Galadima is one of the survivors that lost his home to the windstorm. He now walks with a stick after a wall fell on him as he saved his siblings.
Sai ɗaya daga ciki ta ce ai ɗakin ma ya rushe kuma da yara, to sai na taho nake iwon yaran, mun gama ebe su na ɗau da wani a ciki na dawo to ba kowa juyo da zan yi shi gina ya zubo mu idan ni na kasa tashi nan sai ciki na janyo na taho sai suka gano ni suka zo suka ɗauke ni.
Malam Hudu and his relatives are mourning the death of their daughter, a 13-year-old who died in the windstorm.
Lokacin da na zo ya kace ta dan fita nan arewa da gida kada kafin ta fito sai wannan iska ta turke ta shikenan sai ta gama ta da wani itace da yake wurin shikenan sai Allah ya mata da suwa anan.
The executive secretary of the Jigawa State Emergency Management Agency gives details of the incident.
It was very unfortunate because the wind started from Guri coming to Kapin Hausa, Miga, Jahun, and as I tell you, most of the villages along the riverine areas were affected. And the worst is in Kafin Hausa town, including its surroundings. In Kafin Hausa alone, we lost about 6 people and over 1,000 houses were completely destroyed.
For now, the residents are trying to salvage what is left of their belongings. However, the pain of losing their loved one is difficult to reckon with. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
Also healthcare, the Adamawa state government has reiterated its commitment to ensure access to affordable healthcare services is delivered to its people, especially the poor and vulnerable. The executive secretary of the state's contributory health management agency, Dr. Amos Ejulu, made the pledge during the official flag-off ceremony of the Access to Community-Based Health Insurance Project in Yola, the state capital. According to Dr. Ejulu, the exercise is aimed at providing community-based health insurance cover for orphans and vulnerable children.
It's the official flag-off ceremony of access to a community-based health insurance scheme, a collaboration between the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, and the Adamawa state government. This is in compliance with the Adamawa State Health Insurance Scheme, which was signed into law earlier in the year by Governor Umaru Fintiri.
A sustainable funding mechanism for health system strengthening at all levels of care in Adamawa State and achieve universal health coverage and sustainable development goals agenda. I assented to the law, Adamawa State number 18 of 2018 as amended, which provides a legal framework for the operations of the health insurance scheme in the state. This paved the way for us to attend to the demand side of the health care system by constituting and inaugurating the governing board of the Adamawa State Contributory Health Management Agency to provide strategic leadership of ensuring all residents of the state are enrolled under the Adamawa State Health Insurance Scheme.
Since the introduction of the law, over 30,000 children have been enrolled in the scheme, and the government hopes to do more.
So far, we have enrolled over 30,000 poor and vulnerable children who are enjoying quality healthcare services without paying at the point of access to care. Today's event is another milestone where 1,700 orphans and vulnerable children are also enrolled to join the scheme. The implication is the 1,700 that have been enrolled will have access to quality healthcare services at the facility of their choice without paying a dime, because The premium for that has already been paid for by USAID through ProHealth International, that we are partnering together in implementing a community-based health insurance scheme.
Some of the beneficiaries of the scheme were given identity cards to mark their access to quality healthcare services for a year in a facility of their choice within the state.
Well, small businesses have continued to lament the impact of poor electricity supply in the country as the national grid collapsed again the 7th time this year. And this has caused business owners to resort to alternative sources of power supply. Our next report takes a look at the impact of inadequate electricity supply on small businesses and how government can address this recurring challenge. A typical workday for Kafilat Ayeni, one of Nigeria's budding entrepreneurs. She's making her way into the global market with her agro products. However, like several growing businesses in Nigeria, she's facing several challenges, and poor electricity supply is one of her biggest headaches.
If at all this place is solar powered today, the cost of my production will be about 40% gone. So if today this place is solar powered, I don't need to buy diesel, which I've been running since 8 a.m. today. They just brought light, as you can see. And if I'm on a prepaid meter, I spend roughly 150 to 200,000 in a month.
The incessant grid collapse is one of the reasons Kafilat and other businesses suffer. According to the World Bank, over 80 million Nigerians do not have access to grid electricity, which is about 43% of the population. The global body also notes that the lack of reliable power supply resulted in an annual economic loss estimate of $26.2 billion, which represents about 2% of the national gross domestic product. The national grid is for wheeling what has been generated by the generating companies through the Transmission Company of Nigeria. The distribution companies then distribute to the consumers. Nigeria currently has over 23 power generating plants across the country connected to the national grid, but Nigeria keeps facing constant power failures and grid collapses. The nation's power grid collapsed 7 times this year alone as electricity generation drops to 3,900 megawatts, according to figures from the Ministry of Power.
The collapse is not about the grid. It is about the disturbances on the grid, which was caused either by vandals, by gas vandalization, and things like that. So, and to some extent, water level in our dams, it is a dry season. We are just coming in to the rainy season, and the dams need flood. And if you don't have flood, the water will go down. And once the water goes down, it doesn't have that energy to turn the turbines.
And data from TCN, the managers of the national grid, shows that the grid has collapsed 108 times since the privatization of the power sector in November 2013. Low gas supply for gas power plants, low water level for the hydropower plants, poor utility performance, insufficient funding to upgrade to smart grid, lack of monitoring and accountability are some of the reasons for the collapse.
The available gas can only generate as much as maybe 4,000 megawatts out of the needed 8,000 megawatts. At the national grid level, they need at least the maximum of 5,000 megawatts to be able to give us constant light, but it's not happening.
As people that are concerned about consumer protection, the grid collapse seems to have become an advantage to the distribution companies. Because if you look at it today, the average consumer is billed to pay for a period that the grid collapsed. Last month, for instance, Abuja Distribution Company did not share bills in some areas because they knew the grid collapsed and people will complain. Now, this month that the electricity has been stable for a few days, they started distributing bills and started disconnecting people.
No doubt the continuous collapse of the national grid is taking its toll on businesses and livelihoods. And while the government promises to address the challenges, Nigerians can only hope for improved electricity supply. But to food production, the African Union Development Agency New Partnership for Africa's Development has allayed fears over a prediction that more Nigerians might fall among the number of food insecure people in the world. The national coordinator of NEPAD Nigeria, Mrs. Gloria Akobundu, stated this in Abuja at the closing ceremony of a national meeting on the application of Chinese technology to agriculture in Nigeria and its contribution to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and Sustainable Agriculture in Nigeria. Mrs. Akobundu says that the country under the present administration is on track to ensure food sufficiency for all through improved agricultural production.
We can move closer to the goal of attaining zero hunger, sustainable development goal 2, if we explore new options like the Jonka technology. The technology will contribute greatly to the achievement of United Nations Agenda 2030 and African Union Agenda 2063, and we also help to ensure that smallholder farmers, rural women and youth have sustainable livelihoods and decent employment for poverty eradication and food sufficiency. To achieve this laudable benefit of the Jonka technology, African Union Development Agency as a national focal agency for the project, we work closely with the public and private sectors and all relevant stakeholders both at the national and sub-national levels. The agency also has proper structures put in place, which include 37 plus FCT, state coordinators, and 774 local government focal point officers. We are concerned with ensuring food security and to cushion the effect of COVID-19 towards building long-term resilience for sustainable economic growth and development.
Well, speaking of food, some company news now. Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC, one of Nigeria's leaders in the food and agro-allied industry, has been rewarding some of its top distributors and dealers. At its annual customer conference and award ceremony in Lagos, the managing director of Flour Mills PLC, Delvin Ainsworth, says it is necessary to show appreciation to its business partners for demonstrating commitment to the brand. The yearly event brought together distributors across the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria.
Please put your hands together for me.
Flour Mills Nigeria has been doing business in Nigeria for over 60 years. In the food and agro-allied industry, all made possible by partners, distributors, and sales representatives. Here in this hall, the food manufacturer is set to reward top-performing business to consumer dealers through 108 award categories.
There is nothing we give you here today that is worth what you are doing. Even if it's just a handshake, that we have 880 distributors and we have just 60 of them in this room today speak volume about the caliber of the people that are present here, representing the 800 people that are not in here.
Congratulations to you.
Our purpose is feeding the nation every day. And indeed, we feed something like 33 million Nigerians each and every day in terms of our B2B and our B2C business. So we can't do that without our trade partners, getting them to every nook and cranny. So we bring them here to thank them.
Through all the categories, 5 people emerge as overall B2C award recipients. Others also receive various cash prizes, trucks, and a 5-day all-expense-paid trip to Dubai, UAE.
It's a honor well deserved, and I want to seize this opportunity in thanking Flour Mills of Nigeria for doing this wonderful initiative. It's a sort of inspiration. 4 years ago, I didn't win any award, but I was right there sitting in the hall and hoping that one day I will be on the platform winning, and here we come today.
For a consistent winner, there is need to remain at the top.
When you have an award like this, the companies have to put pressure on me to make sure I do more, because I would never like to come down from what I'm now.
The award ceremony provided dealers present to be intimated with the company's revised profit model for the upcoming fiscal year that will further position all its brands and subsidiaries, such as Golden Penny, as prominent players in the FMCG sector.
Let's now join Teniola Shiboali for more business stories on the news at 10.
Thanks a lot, Kaide. Welcome to Business News. The Mining and Solid Minerals Group of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has expressed concerns about the unintended consequences of the proposed ban by the federal government on the mining sector and the business environment. In a release signed by the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Chinyere Almona, the announcement is further validated to foreign and local investors that it's unsafe for them to invest in Nigeria's mining sector. According to Dr. Almona, this is a threat to the existing local investors who have secured loans to finance their mining projects across Nigeria. Records show that the artisanal and small-scale mining ecosystem accounts for at least 90% of the activities in the mining sector. The Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission, Mrs. Saratu Umar, is promising to improve the nation's foreign direct investment through collaboration following the effects of the pandemic on the nation's investment portfolio. Speaking upon her resumption to office in Abuja, Mrs. Umar explains that with renewed partnership and incentives, more investments will accrue to the nation, while the benefits will translate to better livelihood for all.
The mandate of the NIPC is to encourage, promote, and coordinate investments in the Nigerian economy. This mandate is key to promoting economic growth, creating jobs, and generating wealth for Nigerians, as well as facilitating development. NIPC is therefore strategic and important in the economic development of Nigeria. My appointment comes at an important and defining moment for our dear country, Nigeria. With the goings on in the country and around the world, our work is indeed cut out for us. It is with a positive attitude that we must collectively forge ahead and be on the front line as effective advocates of investments in Nigeria, with the objective of making our country a top destination for global private capital. Therefore, we must stay focused, be development-oriented, and implement strategies for the greater achievement of our mandate. Global foreign direct investments mix over the last decade have become more competitive, and the investment promotion thrust of countries that are attracting the largest global market share of FDI inflows are driven by effective, efficient, and performance-driven investment promotion agencies.
And to the stock market, the bears resurfaced in the local bourse this week as the all-share index dipped by 0.5% week-on-week to close at 51,979.92 points. A total turnover of 917.190 million shares worth 14.803 billion naira in 19,513 deals was traded this week by investors on the floor of the exchange, in contrast to a total of 504.322 million shares valued at 7.517 billion that exchanged hands last week in 12,393 deals. The financial services industry, measured by volume, led the activity chart with 648.207 million shares valued at 6.258 billion traded in 9,293 deals. The consumer goods industry followed with 102.605 million shares worth 3.211 billion in 3,016 deals. The third place was the conglomerates industry with a turnover of 36.218 million shares worth 193.474 million in 562 deals. NASD OTC Securities Exchange Index closed the week with a negative movement on the NSI. The NSI return decreased by 0.67% to close the week at 766.92 points against 772.08 on Friday, July 15, 2022. There was a 318.54% increase in the total value traded during the week, as week 29 saw NASD investors trade a total of 89,596,950.78 in value compared to 21,407,239.55. Total volume traded during the week was 4,167,482 units compared to 3,692,290 units in the previous week, leading to a 12.87% increase in trade volume compared to week 28. The week closed with Central Securities Clearance System PLC ranking top among the 5 most traded securities by value, and NIPCO PLC stood as the 5th most traded security by value for the week. And that's business news tonight. I'm Teniola Shoboale. It's back to Kayode for the rest of the news at 10.
Teniola. Let's switch gears now for some sports news with Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Kayode. Nigeria have emerged winners of the 11th edition of the African Arm Wrestling Championship held at the indoor hall of the National Stadium in Surulere, Lagos. Nigeria finished top of the medals table with 76 medals, comprising 27 gold, 27 silver, and 22 bronze, also earning a massive 630 points to become the overall best in performance and coordination.
I see being a champion as a more work to do, because people will always expect you to keep defending the champion. Like when the president informed me that we are having a championship, I was like, oh, like I begin to panic. I have to start doing something so that I will be able to defend my championship. So I see it as an obligation and something that I have to maintain so that it won't be taken away from me.
Arm wrestling is actually a competition that gives a lot of medals. In a competition, arm wrestling can get up to 70 medals. And if federal government is actually interested in winning medals in these African Games, I believe if they support Arm Wrestling Federation of Nigeria, Nigeria will go a long way in the forthcoming competition.
Well, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development has inaugurated a new board of the National Parasports Federations. The ministry explained that constituting the boards was to reinvigorate them in line with the federal government's desire to reposition sports for effective service delivery and progressive agenda for job and wealth creation for the Nigerian youth. In cycling, Denmark's Jonas Vingegaard is set to claim his maiden Tour de France title as he retained his overall lead following the final time trial, a 40.7 kilometer solo effort. Vingegaard finished second in the 20th stage, won by his Belgian teammate Wout van Aert, who clocked a best time of 47 minutes and 59 seconds. Charles Leclerc will start on pole position for the French Grand Prix after a superb final lap of qualifying that saw off the threat of Max Verstappen. Leclerc and Verstappen, who are locked in a thrilling title battle, were split by just 0.008 seconds heading into the closing stages, but the Ferrari driver found huge improvement when it mattered most and took pole by 0.3 of a second. Leclerc was helped by a tow from teammate Carlos Sainz, and the result continued his newfound momentum as he bids to eat into Verstappen's 38-point lead. Well, in tennis, Matteo Berrettini has ended Dominic Thiem's impressive return to the courts after beating him 6-1, 6-4 to reach the Swiss Open final. He playing his first event since having to withdraw from Wimbledon with COVID, made short work of the 2020 US Open champion by putting him away in just 78 minutes. Well, that's a wrap in the sports news. It's back to you, Kadi.
Well, thanks a lot, Ayatunde. The monkeypox has now been declared a global health emergency by the World Health Organization. The classification is the highest alert that the WHO can issue and follows a worldwide upsurge in cases. There are only two other such health emergencies at present: the coronavirus pandemic and the continuing efforts to eradicate polio.
I have decided that the global monkeypox outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern. And there are now more than 16,000 reported cases from 75 countries and territories and 5 deaths. WHO's assessment is that the risk of monkeypox is moderate globally and in all regions, except in the European region, where we assess the risk is high.
Elsewhere, hundreds of protesters have gathered in central Tunis to demonstrate against a referendum to be held on Monday, July the 25th, on a new constitution that they reject as illegal. President Kais Saied published a draft constitution giving himself far more powers, reducing the role of the parliament and the judiciary, and removing most checks on his power less than a month ago. The referendum is the latest move in what his foes call a march to one-man rule since he moved against the elected parliament a year ago, replacing the government and moving to rule by decree in what critics call a coup. The protest was organized by the coalition, which includes activist groups Citizens Against the Coup and Ennahda, an Islamist party that was the biggest in the dissolved parliament. And the main news again. The controversy over the same faith ticket of the All Progressives Congress APC took a new twist today as the APC flag bearer Bola Tinubu slammed former Vice President Atiku Abubakar over his comments on a failed joint ticket between them in 2007. In response, the former Vice President challenged Bola Tinubu to take the hot seat as he did in a television interview recently. And also today, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State vowed to open up on the happenings in the PDP since the emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the party's presidential candidate. And that's the news at 10, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikelu. Good night.